Good morning. I am meteorologist Steve Krzyzanowski with your December 4th. This is Tuesday. This is your storm scoop for the week, the video edition. This is our current analysis of what's going on in the country. It's pretty quiet. Kind of reloading the atmosphere in terms of steering currents and precipitations and features and moisture. So we have a little bit to talk about. Already did our text version of the storm scoop. It's really in depth, as we suggested we would do yesterday. So I just want to put some graphics up, go through some models here. As always, we're on the 6C. It's the time that we do this in the morning. Pretty cold throughout the northern portion, even the middle portions of the country. You'll start seeing this feature here is one of the features we're going to talk about specifically for the weekend in the east. Thinking this area here is going to have to keep an eye for some wintry precipitation. We'll talk about some things that are going on, including some air masses that might keep areas in New England dry. But this is going to be our system coming here. Let's pause here and show you something else. So that Pacific low that I showed you coming in into California right now, this is sort of the tracking, the flow above. It's not all that difficult to see. Got our jet, but basically this is the projected path for this storm right now. And you can see sort of the barrier here and the thermals of the temperature difference that is going to enhance the storm, and I'll show you that in a second. But we're also it's going to also be sort of a blocking driver. So this is again the area that really needs to keep focus here. I know it's probably a little more north before, but I'm just utilizing the tool probably a little bit better in this picture here. This is the area I think is not out of the woods by a long shot, and we're talking some snow, maybe some ice, real just mess. So let's go back to the model. And again, we typically use the GFS in this video because it goes out so far. We can talk European as well. And when I see necessary features to show you, we'll do that. But let's start putting this storm into motion. So you can still see cold air in place. A ridge does develop, bringing in some of that warmer air from the south. One of the big drivers of this storm will be the precip that comes from the Gulf. You'll see that in a bit. But you'll start steering, sort of the steering really pick up the storm now. So as it gets the moisture from the Gulf, and we'll have severe weather down in Texas and Oklahoma and Louisiana, you'll see the storm get more precipitation, and it'll continue to grow. We're not really worried about the precip shield. It'll keep growing. And you can see the steering kind of keeps that to the south. If I go back a couple other models, you can see kind of dances all over the place. Same time frame, but pretty consistent of being south of New York City. This is most likely a mid-Atlantic storm. There are some things in there that we'll have to keep an eye on. And then again, it's kind of quiet behind there. We've been so used to having this conveyor belt of storms, boom, 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 and right now it's a little bit of a slowing down process. And then a ridge of warm air builds in the central part of the country. Still cold in the northeast and the Pacific Northwest. Pacific Northwest getting some nasty storms coming through. That'll be early next week or midweek next week. And then we're going to start going into late next week. Finally have another system that's it's sort of a clipper system. We may not have enough cold air in place to really support snow in that area. Having a potential system start in the Rockies here, we'll have to keep an eye on that. You can see how that system kind of dies out, and then it will gather its strength and reform, pushing off, but it doesn't bring too much. And again, this now being 276 hours, we'll pretty much throw this out. But we'll keep an eye out as I finish the model run, because it goes out until basically 16 days or so. Anything on this model at this point you're seeing here is going to be kind of nonsensical. So one more thing I want to show is just temperatures. So this is the cold I talked about this morning. This is, currently. I think a lot of the areas, I'm just going to let this run until hour 384. I think a lot of areas that have been cold will remain cold. There will be that bump in the midsection of the country. That'll be next week, midweek. You'll see that come in a second. But no great warm-ups in terms of, here's sort of that warm-up, right, that comes along with that ridge. But no giant warm-ups. You can see it kind of tries to hold here. We do have that storm system I was talking about that try and bring some of that colder weather into the mountains, to the Rockies. But you know, it's sort of status quo. And again, as we get out a week and a half, I don't really want to look at much of these. So it's kind of slowing down a little bit, but looks like some of the long-range models right around Christmas, there's a couple of things in the conveyor belt there, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. But tune into our we'll call it the manual version, the old school analog version, text-based version. A lot of cool graphics today, I think, a lot of details, so jump in there. I'm meteorologist Steve Krasnowski. We're the Briefing Storm Scoop. Have a great week.